Hey guys, I just wanted to apologize to English 10 about the mix-up with the homework yesterday. It seems as though it got fixed, but for the rest of you, it is a day 4. This is going to be Thursday. I get confused because I am a day ahead of you guys in getting this stuff done. And so it is really hard for me to be just a day ahead. Um, I am definitely a planner and like to be months or weeks plus ahead of you guys in getting things done. But it is what it is, and we are all figuring out a new norm. And so today we are going to be working on a poem. Yesterday I set you free and let you analyze a modern poetry as well as, a modern poem slash song alongside a more classic one to give you an idea of the similarities and let you go for broke, right? Not a lot of instruction besides the worksheet, but today I wanted to slow down a little bit. I wanted to see where you were and how easy that was for you guys and where that landed on the scale of what's going on. So today I'm going to annotate a poem with you, and then I have some questions that you're going to answer. So I'm going to share my screen. For those of you that are aware of this, I do have the document camera on the screen here, and so I'm going to have my face up in the corner, and you'll be able to see me up there, but then I have the sheet of paper in front of you, and my hand will be moving around as we go and as I read through this with you. So I'm going to move my face, I think, over so that you can see the poem. And so we are going to read through this famous poem a couple times together. I'm going to read it through once first and then go through the annotations. You guys can annotate as you go or just use mine and copy along. I'm not going to require you to turn in the annotations this time, but it does give you an idea of what I'm looking for when I'm asking you to annotate and some of the things to think about as you go. And so with that said, I'm going to read through this poem and then I'll go back slowly through the annotations. So Miniver Cheevy, I think that's how I'm going to say it. I know that you could say this multiple different ways. Miniver, but his name is weird and we're just going to go with it. The poem title is Miniver Cheevy and it's by Edwin Arlington Robinson. So Miniver Cheevy, child of scorn, grew lean while he assailed the seasons. He wept that he was ever born, and he had reasons. Miniver loved the days of old, when swords were bright and steeds were prancing. The vision of a warrior bold would set him dancing. Miniver sighed for what was not, and dreamed and rested from his labors. He dreamed of Thebes and Camelot and Priam's neighbors. Miniver mourned the ripe renown, that made so many a name so fragrant. He mourned romance, now on the town, and art a vagrant. Miniver loved the Medici, albeit he had never seen one. He would have sinned incessantly, could he have been one. Miniver cursed the commonplace and eyed a khaki suit with loathing. He missed the medieval grace of iron clothing. Miniver scorned the gold he sought, but sore annoyed was he without it. Miniver thought and thought and thought and thought about it. Miniver Cheevy, born too late, scratched his head and kept on thinking. Miniver coughed and called it fate and kept on drinking. And so this poem, I think that as you establish the initial read through here, you probably have gotten a few ideas about the poem. I'm going to situate myself a little differently as I write. But as you're reading this poem, you've established probably a few things. The first of which you've established is that Miniver likes weird things, maybe. He likes the old stories of Camelot. You probably recognize this word. Medici is the Renaissance Italians. And if you look at the very bottom down here, you have the annotations for that, or the footnotes. You probably recognize that he is, as he was born too late, that he lives in a different age. Maybe you realized this last sentence here that you're supposed to be focused on and kept drinking, which implies that he is probably not drinking water. And so we're going to go through this, do a little bit of annotations. I'm going to take it down a little bit slower. So Miniver Cheevy, a child of scorn. I'm going to write as you see here, you are going to look at the rhyme scheme. And so as I'm writing this, I would say that this is A, B, A, B. And you guys can see that I'm writing that here. A's rhyme, as do the B lines. So this is A, B, A, B. Old is the next word. Here, I'm going to focus my screen a little bit more here. And so as you notice this, you head into this next one. Old doesn't rhyme with any of the ones before, so that gets a new letter. That becomes a C. Prancing and bold and old rhyme, and then dancing and prancing rhyme. So it goes A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F. And then renown comes again, and that becomes its own. So G, H, G, H. And that would continue for the other side as well. I'm not going to do that. But if in fact a question asked for the rhyme scheme, what's the rhyme scheme of this poem? You would write then A, B, space, C, D, C, D. The space here indicates the break in the stanzas. And so I would know that this is a stanza and then this is a stanza. So writing that out, that's what that looks like. And that is considered the rhyme scheme. And so then you want to go into this first one. And one of the things that I noticed right away is that Miniver Cheevy, the characterization of him is a child of scorn. If you don't know what the word scorn means, it is in its simplest form mean not liked. So a child not liked. So not well liked in his own community. Grew lean. Lean implies that he is skinny. Right? Lean means that he is thin, that he is not necessarily got a lot of extra right weight on him. And it says here, assailed by the seasons. And so if I was with you, I would ask what you thought that meant. But if you think about the seasons, are we assailed by the seasons? Assailed means like beaten down, or like these seasons affect us physically. And so what this implies could be a lot of different things. It could be that he's old, he's assailed by the seasons, meaning that he's older and has gotten up to an age where like each year is harder and harder. So it could mean his age. But another thing that it could mean is that he's outside in the weather. And so this could also mean that he is homeless. Oops, that's an M. Homeless. And it could be either of those things. And so it could be that he's old, it could be that he's homeless, assailed meaning that he is being physically assaulted by that. He wept that he was ever born, and he had reason. So he cries that he's born, he wishes he wasn't. He had reason, which means this is the first time that the speaker of the poem is bringing his thoughts into this. The speaker is saying like, he should be sad, right? He has reasons to wish he was never born. So he should feel this way. The speaker is agreeing. He wept that he was ever born. The speaker's like, yeah, he had reasons to believe that. So moving on to the next stanza here. Another thing I want to say here is that each of these, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stanzas. And because it is 4 lines of a stanza, we call that a quatrain. So as you move into your questions, one of these right here, this whole sentence here is called a quatrain. And I don't think that was in your vocab list, but it is just something to keep in mind as we continue. Miniver loved the days of old when swords were bright and steeds were prancing. And so we are here in these next 2 lines getting an age that he likes. He likes a time that is before. Age is chivalry, probably, the time period of steeds, like this is a horse, and that knights called them steeds. For most of you, you've probably seen Shrek, if nothing else. And so Donkey talks about being a noble steed, with Shrek being the knight, and so horse is the horse of a knight is called a steed, and so this is the age that our friend, our person, the subject of this poem loves. He loves that time period. Visions of warriors bold would send him dancing, and so very similar. The age of chivalry, the age of warriordom. And so you have this guy who loves olden days. He loves a time that was before him. He sighed for what was not, and dreamed and rested from his labors. This right here, this sentence is the next thing that establishes who he is as a person. He is a dreamer. And thinking about a day gone by, but it also says that he rests from his labor, which then brings us back to, if I'm going to make a mess of this right here, but rests from his labor brings us back all the way up to here. You see this arrow that I'm drawing, and kind of answers that question for us. Rested from his labors. Again, it could mean that he is old and he is retired, but it could also mean that he is lazy, that he is resting from work because he wants to take more time to do this. So again, we have a little bit of liberty here to divulge like what we decide. Do we think he is old? Or do we think that he is homeless, and those don't always coincide, but is he lazy? In his dreams, he's dreaming of Thebes, which at the bottom tells us is the site of several myths in ancient Greece. He dreams of Camelot, which is King Arthur's court, and he dreams of Priam's neighbors. And Priam is the king of Troy, so this references King Arthur here. So we have King Arthur twice. I'm sorry, Camelot is King Arthur. This is Troy and the Trojan War. And then Thebes is ancient Greece. So now we are getting a very specific time in history. The age of chivalry and all of that is implying and talking specifically about Troy, Arthur, and Greece. So moving on, Miniver mourned the ripe renown that made so many a name so fragrant. So the ripe renown is like, renown means, I'm going to go over here because I'm taking up too much space over there. Renown means like famous, right? Everyone knows you, and like royalty is usually renowned. It is age old. It is something that establishes itself as known, and fragrant means smells good. So he's saying that like we are remembered well. And then he moves on to romance. He mourned romance now on the town. And this here has a footnote as well. On the town is an old-fashioned way to say on welfare. So he is saying romance is on welfare. And that is quite the statement here. This could also establish all of this up here as well, that our speaker is on welfare, right? And so we have that connection as well. And art, a vagrant. Vagrant means homeless. He is frustrated with the time that he lives in because romance is dead and on welfare. Art is homeless. There's no place for it. And so now as I've unpacked this, I've got quite a bit of like understanding now. I've taken it a little bit slower. I've slowed down. I've gone sentence by sentence and stanza by stanza. So you're getting an idea of what annotation looks like. I'm going to move this over a little bit as I move into the next portion of this. I'm trying to keep it as straight as possible for all of you that are like me and a little bit OCD. So into the next side over here, Miniver loved the Medici, albeit he had never seen one. Medici refers to the wealthy, famous Florence. Florence, this is in Italy specifically, and so he's talking about paintings that happened during the Renaissance, and it says he's never seen one, which means he has never traveled to Italy or maybe anywhere. He would have sinned incessantly could he have been one. And so this means he would have done anything. Like it is that idea that sin, done anything. To see, to be by, to establish. One refers to the Medici painting. So one refers back up there to Medici. So he Miniver cursed the commonplace. Commonplace here is a word that we don't often use, but it means the mundane, right? It means the everyday. He curses the things that we are all doing. He eyed the khaki suit with loathing, hatred. Loathing means hatred. Khaki implies just what you guys think it means, like a khaki suit, a khaki outfit. And he missed the medieval grace of ironing clothes. He misses the cummerbund, and he misses the idea of dressing up. Oops. Dressing to the nines. I don't know if you guys have heard that, but he misses the, like, I don't know if you see Downton Abbey or any of these like older shows where like somebody's dressing you and you're wearing the shirt and then the tie and then the cummerbund, which is like the black thing that goes around your waist, and the 3-button suit. And he misses that. He misses the iron clothing. He misses that knight. This could also mean knightly armor, right? He misses all of that. And so Miniver scorned the gold he sought. He thinks that life should be more than money. But sore annoyed was he without it. So we know here that he is without money. No money for Miniver. And so instead of trying to get money, though, we hear in these next lines, it says he thought and thought and thought about it. He is not doing anything. He's not doing a single thing. He is thinking is what he's doing. So Miniver Cheevy, and this is where the author or the speaker, excuse me, comes in again, is giving some of his judgment. I said he did it up here, but the speaker again is giving us a little bit of insight into him. He was born too late. He was born in a different decade than he should have been. He was born at a time that was a little bit too late. So Miniver Cheevy scratched his head and kept on thinking. He coughed and called it fate. Fate means that there's nothing he can do about it. Fate implies that the predestination, fate implies that there's nothing that can be done to change your circumstances. He's like, it is what it is. And he decided to, and this is the crux of the whole poem. He is possibly an alcoholic. He kept on drinking. He kept doing the exact same thing that was making him dream and be lazy, etc. And it is at this point in the play that we go back to this part up here, and then again this part up here. And so it takes us back to that. Is he lazy? Is he a dreamer and therefore being productive? Or is he homeless? Is he just old? How would we describe him? And so as you're thinking about who he is and what you think about our friend here, you want to be establishing like what your thoughts are on some of these questions. And so I'm going to keep this on here and read through some of these questions and not answer them for you. That is not my goal, but to give you an idea of what I'm doing here and how that's going to bring you over to there. So one of the things it asks about is the tone. Let me move this down a little bit. It asks about tone. It asks about structure. And it asks about a bunch of other things, all that come from your vocab list from before. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the tone of this. Tone is how the speaker feels. What is the speaker's feel in this? And so I'm going to circle or like go through, I have a couple. I have speaker down here. I have the speaker again here. And so we have two instances where I already talked about the speaker of this poem. The speaker says that he had reasons to be sad that he was born. And the speaker also said that he was born too late. And throughout most of this, there's not a lot of judgment otherwise. Miniver, he's given a lot of facts. He loved this, he sighs, he mourns, but it gives a lot of that first person, he did this. It gives a lot of doing words, right? He's doing this, he's feeling this. There's not a lot of like voice from the speaker in this poem. And so when we have it, we have to use what we have. And so the two times that he does, he said he was born too late, and that the speaker says that he had reasons to be sad that he was born. So we see the speaker here saying that he has a tough life, but then also that so I would argue that the tone here is sympathetic, not necessarily judgmental. He's not judging him, not a lot of judgment. I think as readers, we judge Miniver a little bit more than the speaker does, as we realize that maybe he's not working really hard, and as we realize up here that the seasons are assailing him, and we think maybe homeless and then lazy could come out here. We may, as readers, judge this guy a little bit more than the speaker does. And so what you're doing in these questions, and my hope was to help you understand the poem a little bit more today than I did yesterday, and to go through a little bit of step-by-step of what annotation looks like. This is obviously a lot more than some of you guys are going to give me or feel comfortable with, but this is really where I'm headed in regards to this. If you don't know what is going on, if you don't know a word, you look it up. As you're stopping, you're establishing what they're meaning in each of these stanzas. And so with these notes and what I'm giving you here, my expectation is that you answer these 11 questions. And in answering them, you are engaging with the text. Some of the questions ask for, like for example, number 9 here, it says, if Miniver Cheevy had lived in an earlier time, do you believe that he would have been a hero? Explain your thoughts and include lines from the text. And so I'm looking for you in those texts to come back to your annotations here and establish where you believe and what you believe this guy to be like. So if we are talking about structure here, one of the questions asks you, what is the rhyme and meter? So I established the rhyme here. The rhyme scheme is A, B, A, B. And so we answered that already. And so the next one is meter. Like, how does this poem, Miniver Cheevy, born child of scorn, grew lean when he assailed the seasons? What is the beat? Is it easy to read? Is this hard to read? And that is that question. So I know this is long, and I know that this is not easy for you guys. My goal is to try to make this as easy as possible. And so I am going to stop sharing this. You can take a snapshot of the screen. You can do whatever you need to. You can write it on your own sheet as you go, or however you want to do that. I'm not asking for your annotations today. I did it for you. But I am going to ask you guys to then answer the questions. There's 11 of them, of which I think I've touched on most of them. The narrator is not the speaker of this poem. And so you are going to be answering the questions that follow. Please let me know if you have questions. I want to help, so I will be on Zoom today for your class period, and so you can come listen to it ahead of time or not, and then ask me any questions that you have. Do as many as you want to, and then come back in class to those questions if you have any. So without further ado, I just want to say I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate your patience with me. I appreciate you taking time to ask me questions, and then also to log into Canvas and get this stuff done. This is not easy. Spring break is coming, and as spring break is coming, I'm going to ask you guys to give me any input that you feel is going well, anything that you think is like, hey, we need to work on this, and then I will do the same for you guys. So Friday is going to be a little bit different in that I'm going to be asking that as your assignment as opposed to poetry. We are going to come back to poetry after spring break. So today and tomorrow are your last days. Then we're at a week of like, let's get away from each other. And then this is the week after that, we're going to come back to poetry. We will still be on remote learning at that point. And so make sure that Tuesday, I think we go through the 30th, make sure that Tuesday you log into Canvas. I'm talking so long, so I'm just going to end right now, and I hope you all are doing well, and we'll see you later.